Welcome to LifeTalk. I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and joining me as usual is my trusty sidekick, Renee Hobbs. And back again to help us out this week is Stephen Broden from Fair Park Bible Church. Hello, Stephen.
Good to be with you again.
Nice to be with us. We have seen, since Obama became president, and the dark days, the last 7.5 years that we've suffered through that, they have inflicted enormous so-called consumer protection laws and regulations on American business. I heard a thing the other day on some political show I was watching. They say there's an estimate that since Obama took office, the Obama administration has inflicted over 3,500 new rules and regulations on American business, and it's crippling business. It's putting people out of business. It's taking jobs away. It is destroying jobs. They are regulating American business out of business, basically. Why doesn't that apply here in the case of abortion? This is the most unregulated business in the whole United States. So why are we taking legitimate businesses that are employing people and doing good work, and we're regulating them out of business, and yet the Obama administration is fighting any regulations, even the simplest regulations, even when you say we're going to apply the same standards to an abortion clinic that we apply to other outpatient surgical centers, they go to the Supreme Court. They'll fight it all the way to the Supreme Court to keep that from happening. And it's just another example of how radical these people are. I mean, they are radical, godless, leftist. And, you know, I get a lot of criticism even from pro-lifers who say, you're a little over the top using language like that. It's a fact. If it's not true, then criticize me for it. But I challenge anyone to tell me that this is not true, that our country is now being run by radical, godless Marxists. That's who's in charge of things.
Well, and the consumer protection, it's rules and regulations that come up throughout the business years to help protect people.
Right.
People are being killed inside abortion clinics, and we're trying to set in place rules and regulations so that does not happen anymore, so we don't go back to the backstreet alleys.
They're there to protect the abortion lobby.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with protecting women.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Well, what we're witnessing, there's a spiritual component to this thing, and that's, you're saying the country is being run by godless leftists. Godless is the
Key word.
Key word, and I think what we're witnessing is an intensification of a spiritual conflict that's manifesting itself in the public square.
Yep.
On this issue in particular.
Yep, but on a lot of issues, but on abortion issue, the abortion issue is what started it. Let's make this clear. All this division that's in the United States right now, where people are not just opposed to other people, they hate them.
Right.
That started with the abortion issue.
Yes.
You go back prior to 1973, American politics wasn't like this. Abortion is what created that environment. We've talked about that here.
Yeah, you can't slaughter human beings and
think there's no consequence.
that's right. There's going to be a division.
Right, that's right. Well, the good news is we're still seeing abortion clinics close. You know, used to we always talked every month about the closings in the previous month, and we're not doing that as much as we were. But they're still closing. They're closing at faster rates now. And talking about Planned Parenthood, in Indiana alone, 6 Planned Parenthoods are being closed in Indiana alone. That's great news.
That is good news.
So we're still winning, but there's still a lot of work to do. And I still say, and I've written about that in my new book, Siege, there's something going on with Planned Parenthood. And the something that's going on is they're wanting to become an agency of the federal government. If either between now and the time Obama goes out of office or if Hillary Clinton is elected, I'm promising you right now there's going to be a press conference called in which whoever's the leftist president that we have at that time is going to be standing there beside Cecile Richards and announcing that Planned Parenthood is being brought in as a Department of Health and Human Services. Now, I know I've talked to you, obviously I talk to you about this on a pretty regular basis. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about it before, but I know you read it in
your book.
In my book, Siege. Am I nuts? Am I
Oh,
the moon here?
Oh, no, you're not. I think that is the ultimate strategy and the way things look in terms of how they're moving and their connection with the federal government and with this leftist regime that we have in Washington, D.C. at this time. It's just apparent.
It's obvious to me. Once you notice it, you know, it's kind of
you got to start looking for it. Once you look for it, you'll see it.
You'll see
it's
it
like
clearly.
a puzzle piece.
And
It all falls
it
into
fits
place.
into place.
It's like what?
A puzzle piece.
Oh, yeah, right.
It all fits into place.
And it's disturbing. It's disturbing.
Hey, Hey guys, if you want a powerful speaker for your next pro-life event, someone who can deliver a hard-hitting, inspirational message, I've got a deal for you. Mark is now available for a limited number of engagements, and if you watch LifeTalk or read his articles, you already know his unique perspective on the pro-life battle is like no one else's. If that sounds like what you're looking for, just call me, Renee Hobbs, at 940-380-8800 between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. You can also reach me by email at renee@prolifeamerica.com. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. Together, you and I are going to make your banquet or convention one that people will be talking about for years.
Longwood University, a counselor there, has determined, and I'd never heard this, I don't know what, microaggression is this new, some kind of trendy phrase that's being used. I don't even know what it means. I don't think these people that are pushing it know what it means. But anyway, she has determined that for someone to say they are pro-life, just to believe or say that they're pro-life, is an example of microaggression. And that she says that being pro-life is a form of assault. She said as an analogy would be, if a student slashes my tires on my car, or if I am almost raped, those are examples of microaggression and assault, and saying that you're pro-life fits that pattern. If you say that you're pro-life and you oppose the slaughter of the unborn child, you are practicing microaggression.
Or if you're a sidewalk counselor and you get beat up, or if you have crosses out at a college and it gets vandalized.
It was
what
justified.
What is that called?
That's justified because
okay.
you're participating in microaggression.
Oh, okay.
Renee, has the whole country lost its mind?
I think it has.
It's hard to imagine.
Leftist dialectic.
Yeah.
They control the language, they define what is, and we buy into it.
Before we go, I want to point out something here, talking about the media. It's very interesting to me that when we have these shootings of police officers or any of the other things that we're seeing going on right now, the situation down in Orlando with the nightclub and all that, the media, and Barack Obama, he's the worst offender of the bunch, and he leads the way. He makes it possible for the media to tell these lies. They come out and they say, well, wait a minute, let's don't rush to judgment. We don't really know what this guy's motives were. Now, he was shouting, at the top of his lungs.
What was it? I did it for ISIS.
I did it for ISIS.
Yeah.
And he's written these things on Facebook or Twitter or wherever they write this crap. And they do all these things, and they shout, Allah be praised and all this stuff as they're doing these things. But we don't know what their motives are. We have to assume they have other motives. Yet, when we had this guy that was clearly deranged, this Robert Deere character goes into this Planned Parenthood in Colorado. He goes into the Planned Parenthood and he's shooting out, not shooting in, but he's shooting out. And he had made some statements about selling baby parts and some statements about being a Christian and all this. His motives were crystal clear, right? He was a Christian extremist, a pro-life extremist. Now, a court now has found him mentally incompetent, and all you have to do is look at a picture of the guy and you can see this boy's not wrapped too tight. But why is it that the media and Barack Obama can see his motives so clearly, so crystal clear? He's a part of the mainstream pro-life movement, right? This is what being pro-life means, is you're like this guy. But a guy goes into a gay nightclub and starts hollering, God is great or Allah is great, and I'm doing this for ISIS, and he's got all these posts and everything. He's very well known. And even people in his own mosque are saying, hey, we're concerned about this guy. This guy's a little bit bizarre. But we don't know what his motives are all of a sudden, right? And the thing that angers me about this so much is our degenerate-in-chief comes out here when one of these things happens, and he makes these very placid statements. Oh, let's all be calm, and let's don't, and it starts off with, let's all remember Islam is a religion of peace, and we get all that lecture, right? We get all of that. You're shaking your head, Renee.
He needs to go read the
Quran.
The Quran, yeah.
But he knows the Quran.
He knows the Quran he knows it a lot better than any of us know.
That's right.
I promise you. he knows he's lying. But he doesn't get called on it because the media is pushing the same exact story. But we get all this lecture from him about the other day when this thing happened in Paris. One of his first statements was, let's make sure we don't use this as an excuse to discriminate against Islamic people here in the United States, right? That's your big concern? Some guy jumps in a truck and runs over 84 people, 11 which are children, and your big concern is that that event might be used to discriminate against Muslims in America? That's your big concern? And you know what? That is his big concern. He's far more concerned about that. And if you don't think that's true, let me point something out. Let's just say for a moment that all of these acts that are being done by these Islamic terrorists, these extremists, were instead being done by pro-life extremists at abortion clinics, right? Same thing was happening. A guy goes in somewhere and starts shouting about pro-life and kills 50 people. A guy goes in, gets a Ryder truck or a U-Haul truck and crashes it in up on the curbs and runs people over and kills 84 people, 11 which are children. And the whole time he's shouting some pro-life statement. Would Barack Obama be coming out saying, listen, let's not use this. The pro-life movement is a very peaceful movement.
Of course not. He would not do that.
He would
what,
not do
What
that.
we're witnessing.
Neither would the media.
Right. What we're witnessing is selective outrage.
Right.
The outrage is intensified when it fits their agenda to control and to regulate and to squash our movement.
Right.
But on the other side, there's no outrage at all because it fits the agenda.
It fits the agenda, right? And again, you're not going to tell me that if you just make a perfectly parallel to all of this, but it was being done by some pro-lifers,
Sure.
that we wouldn't all be painted with that brush, and Barack Obama would be the one doing the painting, and he wouldn't care, as would the media, and they wouldn't care one bit what happened to us. This building would be surrounded on a daily basis by ATF, FBI, police departments.
Well, stand by, Mark.
Yeah. Well, we went through it in the 90s with Bill Clinton. I mean, I've talked about it here before. We were able to prove that, and we proved who was doing it, what government agency was doing it. Our phones were tapped, and our mail was being opened with no court order and no.
That Attorney General Reno, what was her name?
Well, yes, but and FBI agents were out here in Crown Victorias watching our building. We hadn't done a thing. We hadn't done one thing to deserve this. But our mail was being opened and our phones were tapped. And we proved it. It wasn't just us baying at the moon. We proved for a fact that that was going on. And the second that we proved it and we called them on it, it quit right then. And that was another way we knew what was going on. But the fact is, I'm tired of being lectured by these people and saying, you know, when all of us, they're saying, well, this has nothing to do with Islam and it has nothing to do with, you know, religious fanatics that are Muslims and so forth. I'll buy into that when we start seeing these same actions being done by a bunch of Presbyterians or something, right? A bunch of raging Presbyterians went into a nightclub and shot the place up and hollered, Jesus is great or something. Yeah, then maybe I'll buy into it. Until then, when 100% of these events have been the result of a certain group of people, it is not unjustified to say the problem is with this group of people right here. Something needs to be done about this. Sure. It's not unjustified to say that. And, you know, you can call it racial profiling, you can call it discrimination, you can call it whatever you want to, but that's the facts. That is the fact right there. And
well, I'm telling you, he's not lecturing us. He's lecturing the average American citizen who is oblivious to these kinds of details and the kind of movement that we're seeing taking place in America today. If the American people would ever wake up to and recognize that there is this socialistic, leftist movement that's happening in America, we can stop this stuff. But if you have it wrapped and sauced in political correctness,
right.
They can manipulate them to do what they want.
And that's what's happening.
That's exactly what's happening.
Exactly happening. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week. Good show, guys, and appreciate your being with us again, Stephen.
You bet.
It's always nice to have you here. Until next time, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next week.